Let's start it. John Knight, how are you today, sir?
Good, sir. How are you?
All is well, man. So listen, I just want to take a few moments with you and have a dialogue with you and possibly see, how we can show people why now is the importance of joining Family First Life. How long have you been with Family First Life?
Just over 2 years, been with Family First Life. Came from a practice company, and wanted basically was looking for something to be able to help out clients because we weren't able to get them covered with certain medical ailments like diabetes if they took insulin. So I was looking for something that would be able to approve them, no matter what they had. So we're about 99% of the time. So looking for this, I actually went through 3 different companies, pretty much put onto it because of my dad passing with a final expense policy that we use. And then that ended up finding Family First Life.
Gotcha. So let me ask you a question. Like when you went through that experience with your dad, what triggered you to want to come into the insurance industry?
So,
what your
yeah.
situation, your scenario.
So my son actually, we have a special dynamic. My son actually has special needs. So I wanted to be able to be at a place where I could always be at his appointments. So I work for a regular company, actually a warehouse company. And the one time I couldn't actually get off for he has a yearly appointment in Philadelphia. So then I was like, you know what, I got to get something else because I got to make sure I always are able to go to his appointment. I don't have to ask anybody to be able to go. I just go. So I worked 3 days on, 4 days off. So then I started looking for something. Insurance came up. My dad had tried to get into insurance back in the 80s. So that's why I kind of leaned that way. I knew I wanted to be in something with business. And with those 4 days off, that's how I actually started my career with my practice company. And then I wanted to be able to do something once and continually get paid, for the rest of my life, as long as I kept my insurance license. So that's actually the reason I looked at insurance.
So basically what you're saying is you wanted a career where you could create the lifestyle of your own and live on your terms and not the terms of a boss or sick time or sick leave or something like that, right?
Absolutely. So
Gotcha. Do you think that you've accomplished that by your decision by coming into the insurance industry?
Yes. And obviously I want to grow more, but to be able to have that freedom, you think about that for the holidays, being able to have that flexible schedule, to be able to obviously still work. And when I say flexible, it's not taking off. It's just a matter of being able to take care of those important things that you have to do with your family, but also be able to build a business at the same time, and be able to intertwine that and still be able to make income, whether you're actually physically working or not.
Gotcha. Now, for those people that don't really know the importance of insurance, why would you say that now is the right time to get an insurance policy? Because we want to talk about that before we go into why Family First Life is the best opportunity.
So the biggest thing now is, and I think with COVID going on, with all the mutations, I've had a lot of family members. I had 2 family members, my dad and my sister, pass away in the last 3 years, and just the amount of how it can actually disrupt your life. My example would be my mom. My dad had disability through the VA. He had retirement through the state, but because he only worked at the state a certain amount of time, that money had already ran out. So it only kept coming in as long as he was alive. So once he passed away, that ended. And then the money that we would get from the VA reduced for my mom. So she lost probably about $3,500 a month. So we're living in she's living in a 5-bedroom house. So I had wanted them to downsize, but obviously, your parents are connected with that house. They've been in it for a long time. So that's sometimes hard to do. So, but then you're actually forced because we knew that she couldn't do the upkeep and keep up the payments on the house. So it took about 8 months to sell the house. So, most people think that, hey, I'm just going to turn around. It's a great market because it's a good market now. But it's always when you go to sell it, you don't know how that market's going to be. So obviously we thought maybe 2-3 months, but here we go almost a year. So that's why it's so important to have those reserves, because then she's able to sustain for that 8 months and then still move out to Arizona with my sister. And I think that's what people don't think about. And you have to do clean out and, getting the realtor, all those things, which is all different costs. So that's why it's so important to have that insurance in place.
Yeah, it's always good to have extra proceeds versus using the money that you may have stashed away when you have that policy in place to take care of those needs.
Absolutely.
So, let's say that there's somebody watching today that possibly they just don't know anything about the life insurance industry and they're looking for a career change. Kind of like me when I was coming into this new year, I was seeking for something, but I didn't really know what I was seeking for. What would you say to that person with the opportunity that we have here at Family First Life?
So the great thing about Family First Life and the insurance industry and the way Family First Life has it set up, you're able to come in with not a high point of entry. So like if you want to own a McDonald's, if you want to own a Starbucks, all that type of thing, or like a Chick-fil-A, there's usually a point of entry, probably anywhere from 20, 30,000 to up to $1 million. Where basically with this, it's just a matter of you purchasing leads, an insurance license, which is licensed by the state, and then work ethic. So, if you're willing to work hard and be disciplined, you can do very well in the insurance industry. And one of the biggest things about FFL is they pay the highest comp in the industry. So when I worked for my practice company, they paid one of the lowest comps. So a person can come in and make the type of money that they would make in a month within a couple of days. And that's how powerful this opportunity is with Family First Life, because like my sister was able to replace her income at her old company within a couple months, which most people can't do that in a year when they start a new business. So that's what's so phenomenal about Family First Life.
No, that's great. Thank you for explaining that. Now, do they need to have insurance or no insurance? I mean, experience. Do they need to have experience?
No. And I would say that probably you're better off if you don't have any experience, because no matter where you come from, you bring some type of baggage. And sometimes when we come from the insurance industry, a lot of us are like, well, I already understand how to do insurance, or like we purchase leads and it's a system. So at McDonald's, it's a system that's made them so successful. It's not the people, it's the system. Okay. And just plug in those right people in the system. So the same thing with Family First Life. But when you have people that come from the industry that have some working knowledge, if they're not humble enough to be able to say, hey, I'm going to learn from you, Jamar, about how the system works, then sometimes they actually struggle. So I think if you don't have experience, sometimes that can be the best thing, because you don't have any cobwebs to wipe out, or any baggage to leave, because you're already just going by the system because you don't know anything different, and that's what the benefit to not having the experience, with coming on board.
Gotcha. With credit to our CEO, Sean Mike, when we think about the comp plan, where are you seeing, versus your previous IML and where we're at today, where do you see that difference between the comp plan that Sean Mike has been extensively gracious in giving us?
So let me just put it in context. The company I came from has
just so you know, comp plan, compensation plan, for those that may not understand.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, sorry, John.
Yeah, so compensation, obviously the way you get paid. But what is so great about Sean Mike, and in comparison to the company that came from, the practice company, our company will do over 400 million this year. Okay. That company that I came from has 98 billion in assets. Okay. So you can almost see that comparison, that we have billions and billions and billions of dollars that is coming in every year off of the premiums that we're bringing in at that old practice company. So for Sean Mike to be actually given the type of compensation at the level of where the company is unheard of. Most of the people in the industry would say he's crazy, because I actually thought about this recently. My old practice company said they wanted a 70% return. Okay. on the per premium. So for every dollar spent, they wanted 70 cents back. Okay. So what they were actually doing is they wanted the 70 cents back, and they gave us 30 cents. Okay. So when you really think about that, that's huge, because they're actually doubling. They're probably doubling their profit in terms of, or they're doubling in terms of what we actually get paid as agents, even though we're the generating all the money that's coming in. Because on the back end, the operations, they don't generate any income. The sales force does. So that's why this company's built for the sales force, because he gives all the money back to the sales force. And you got to think about, if there's no overhead, right? You're not paying any health insurance. You're not paying 401k. You have all this extra money that you can spread around if you really care about your people. So they could do it. I'd say that even during the pandemic, if they would have raised our comp by 10%, they would have ignited the field, right? And this guy is paying over, starting at 100%. So it's just totally unheard of. And I think the reason why we sometimes are not bringing more people over, because they don't believe that that's possible. Because I remember when I actually heard about not Family First Life, but other IMOs paying over 100%, I said, how's that possible? But then when you look at life insurance being the stickiest product, that's why it's possible, because it stays on the books, and people don't usually make changes on life insurance unless they're adding more coverage, but they usually don't change it. So that's why they can afford to pay that higher comp. And then it's also up to the CEO and the management team to be able to, give back to the agents.
No, that makes sense. So when we talk about, our comp plan basically starts at anywhere between 90 to 100% up to 145%. On a typical average for a new agent coming in, I know it's based off of, whatever their upline may be making. When you think about an hourly wage job versus coming into the commission aspect of the insurance industry, talk to me a little bit about some of the benefits of why, being an agent versus going to work for an employer may be better versus having a 9 to 5 or 8 to 4 or 6 to 2:30.
Absolutely. So most people, if they're a really good employee, okay, that means they come to work early, they work as hard as they can, they're a high performer. They can do the same thing in a commission-based or results-based career, okay? But it's just having the confidence to say that I am actually worth more than they're paying me per hour. Because what they talk about is, if you want to actually get wealth, you have to be paid. You can't be paid by the hour, because most people can't work 24 hours a day. You got to be paid on results, okay? Because, usually what happened was, when I worked in a factory, we'd all have to work together. And no matter how hard I worked, if the guy beside me decided that he didn't want to work that hard today, I was still responsible for the production. Okay. Now, obviously, if I got paid on results, I would have made more money at that place, because I worked hard. I worked based on, hey, I want to be able to make this comp or this production as quickly as possible. But the way the workforce works is, people don't get paid usually by the results. They get paid by the hour, and then most people the people that are the good employees have to pick up the slack. Where here you can actually get paid what you're worth, because people always say, I get so upset and I want to leave my company because I'm not actually paid what I'm worth. Well, results-based, commission-based is the only way that you can actually be paid based on, what you're worth.
Gotcha. And the beautiful thing about that is that when we think about, coming in underneath of somebody, one of the things that Sean Mike always talks about is that it doesn't matter where you start off, it matters where you finish, and you can outperform whoever brought you in. Talk a little bit about that.
So it's a great thing. Like, it doesn't matter if you came in, a year after I started, okay? You can have everything that I have and more. If you're more hungry, you can actually surpass me. Most companies, multi-level marketing, we can go pretty much down the list, is that person either has to die or be fired before you even are able to move up. And the nice thing about Family First Life is you don't actually suffer when one of your let's say, like a team within a team grows big. Usually at most companies, either you got to, lose a leg, or You got to figure out a way to replace production. In my old company, if somebody actually moved up to a position that you were in, you'd have to figure out how to replace that that production, and you still got the same goals for the next year, or actually higher with less people. So it would actually frustrate, unless you were just a good person and you wanted people to move up. People are not motivated to help other people become bigger because they actually lose something by helping them. So then it makes this mentality where I don't want to help you. I don't want to help you get promoted because I'm going to lose something, where he's already thought about that and made it so that everybody benefits from somebody moving up. And I've never been in a culture where I can call, somebody that works on a different team and get help from that person, and true help, and they don't benefit from it. They benefit from it obviously in the spiritual way, or the, planting that good seed. But in terms of benefiting them, financially, and what's so crazy is everybody's willing to do it. I mean, that's what the culture is. I'm not saying 100% of people are not doing that, but in terms of the culture, which is so important. If I walked into somebody's group at my old company, they're calling national guidelines trying to get me with no insurance license, because they're so worried about being able to lose that money or lose that group. Or here, it's like a lot of times we don't even split each other because we understand that I don't need to, because of the fact that, there's more than enough to go around, which is the way it should be.
Gotcha. So, here at Family First Life, we don't, most of us don't have an office, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we typically work from home. We have a FFL, our DAO team.
Mm-hmm.
For somebody coming into the insurance agency, they're a little hesitant, they're a little scared, they don't know everything. Why would you say that, it's important to be connected to that DAO team? We have our DAO team on Mondays and Thursdays, right?
Yeah.
And then sometimes Sunday if we want to get ahead.
Yes.
Talk about why, coming in and being a part of, the system that we have in place is so important, because that's what's going to launch our success here at FFL.
Well, it's so important to be able to connect with other people, because usually if you're on, we'll so-called say an island, it's very hard to get yourself going and stay motivated. Even if you're the most disciplined person, sometimes it can be difficult, because sometimes the insurance industry can be difficult anyway. But when you have all that support and you're able to log on to something and have the closest thing to an office environment, if you don't have one close by, it pays so much in terms of dividends. Like in terms of, the DAOs and the calls is basically the main part of your business, because if you don't set appointments, you don't have any business. So you being able to listen to $20,000 and $30,000 performers, makes you better. And all it is usually is like one or two things that you're not saying or not adding into your, like what you're saying to customers to be able to get more appointments. And sometimes it can be one thing that you change that can change everything for that day, that week. So that's why the DAO team is so important, and being able to plug into that system with other performers. And it's just good anyway, because, you hear other people having success. So maybe if you're struggling, that can keep you encouraged. And then, usually success breeds success. So.
Gotcha. So, when I came into the insurance industry early at the beginning of the year, I heard the term vested renewals day one, but I really didn't understand what it meant at that time. For some people that don't have any experience, such as myself, explain that to me. Like, what does that mean for the newcomer that may be listening in, and why that is important to have versus, waiting 6 years or 6 months?
Try 10 years. So renewals are so important, because basically it's money that the insurance company actually pays out for that person's policy stand on the books. Okay. So with, some of our policies here, you can actually get those vested renewals from day one. So what happened with my old company is we had to wait 2 years and we get 50%, 5 years, 75%. And then you had to wait 10 years to get 100% of your renewal. So basically, the company's actually holding that money that you earned for 10 years, okay, or 2 years, 5 years, instead of that company giving it back to you right away, because they really could. It's just a decision not to. And that's another reason why they should work here because, he's trying to give you every opportunity to be successful and make the most money possible to be able to take care of your family, and that's why they, call it family first, because you want to be able to work, or you want to be able to have a career or a business that takes care of your family from the beginning. And that's what's so great about Family First Life. So I probably worked 7 years before I could adequately take care of my family, where people are doing it within the first week or 2 weeks because of the comp and because of everything that you get back. I mean, so let's say you sell $10,000 worth of premium at my own company, okay, that'd be about $2,000 instead of almost 10. And that's a game changer.
Because of the percentage amount we get up to,
it's huge.
125% comp.
It's huge because most people are living paycheck to paycheck. So some people are behind already. So then you get into the point where you're not making that much money, and then you get even more behind, where you make so much money quickly so you can actually get ahead, and that's all everybody wants to do. And it's not even about like having tons and tons of money. It's just about having that freedom to not have to worry about money. Because when you don't have any money, that's all you think about. How am I going to pay the car payment? How am I going to pay groceries? How am I going to take care of Christmas? And that's what's so great about the company that we're at, because you don't have to be in debt, and you don't have to think about those other things that pretty much you thought about the whole time you worked for another company.
Yes, sir. So we're getting ready to wrap this up. I just want to ask you a few more questions. For most people, I had a conversation with a guy this weekend as I was talking about the business opportunity, and he was telling me, well, what does the lead cost? And as I was talking to him about it, I told him what the price range would be. As a new agent coming in, sometimes people get hinged up and they see the cost of the leads, but they don't see that as a business expense, because if you don't spend money, you'll never make money. Dive a little bit deeper into that, and tell me why you think it is important, and why Family First Life is positioned us to succeed at the lead cost that we have in the inventory, the CRM.
So they've talked a lot about this. A lot of our leads are actually discounted because of what Sean Mike does with those leads. So WorkSpots is a big thing that helps reduce that cost. Okay.
What is WorkSpots?
So WorkSpots it's basically a system that has all our offices in the company connected. And then you can also use WorkSpots is always you get discounts on car rentals and some other things. And then you also get discounts on leads too, through lead vendors and also the CRM. So it actually brings down that cost for that person. But what that person's got to understand, and I like what you said about the fact that you got to actually spend money to make money, is basically when you buy leads, you're buying money. So, and I think it's just hard for people to understand that, because they're used to actually getting a check instead of investing something, to be able to have a return. And that's basically what it is. It's just it's an investment, and you get a return from it, usually anywhere from 5 to 10 times. Okay. And when you look at the point of entry, like we said earlier, like for a McDonald's or for any other thing, when you talk about between, let's say, 500 and 1,000 when you start, as opposed to 10 to $1 million. And if you do it right, you can use the same 500 to 1,000 every single week, or every dial day. So that's the difference between, somebody having that, and it's only because of a way of thinking. It's a mindset, instead of you thinking about, hey, I'm investing in myself, they're thinking, hey, this is another expense that I have to make, which is not. It's actually an investment, because you're actually getting a return on it. And it's been proven time and time and time again. I could see if one person did it and it didn't work, or multiple people did it and it didn't work, but it's worked time and time and time again. So you can't deny that. And that's where that person has to kind of change their mindset from an employee mindset to a business owner mindset.
I'm glad you said that. Now, give us an example of how you've leveraged WorkSpots to save you money within your business.
Yeah. So
what's one of your best examples?
Just like like WorkSpots, they run like a 50% discount. So I was able to get $1,000 worth of leads for $500. And what you want to try to do is use the same amount of money you would spend even if you didn't have work spots. Okay. Because you're actually getting, more bang for your buck. So you might as well. So if I had to spend $1,000 instead of just doing the 500, go ahead and spend 1,000 and get double the return. Okay. Because the more leads you have when you're on the phone, because, obviously you're going to have people that are hang up, you're not going to have people sometimes be very positive. You have so many leads, so it doesn't matter what that person does on the other end of the phone. And you notice that your mentality is different when you have, 150, 200 leads, unless, as opposed to you having like 60 leads and every lead means something, your
So when
mentality
you
is
made a
so different.
$1,000 investment, how many leads was that? How many
So
opportunities?
so use about 100, okay, for the $1,000 investment for the instant internet. Now, if you do like a 1 month or 2 month, you could be getting like a 150, okay. So, and like I said, you want to leverage as much as you can. So, I would always try to spend as if, because we didn't always have work spots, so always try to spend what you would have put in if you didn't have work spots. So let's say you wanted 100 instant internet leads and it's $1,100. Still spend the 1,100 and get 200 leads, because now you just doubled your chance of your at bats, and that's what we want. We want as many at bats as possible, because obviously if you have that, you're going to have more chances to be able to sell, and you really only need to sell out of 103, and you already made your money back and then some.
Average cost of a policy is how much?
Average cost of a policy, I would say probably between $75 and $100, depending on, the person's age and stuff like that.
Annual cost?
Annual cost about $1,000. So $1,000 to
And
$1,200.
how much does an agent get?
The agent gets, depending on their comp, it could be anywhere from $750 to $1,200, depending on their comp.
So we have
we whatever their comp is, you get 75% up front, and then the rest is paid on the back end, 9, 10, 11, and 12. But depending on what your comp is, like I said, it could be anywhere from $750 to $1,200.
Wow. So really only you need to sell like 2 policies, and you, out of the 100 or 150 leads, you sell 2 policies, you make your money back, and the rest is extra, right?
That's right. And that's
Has
what
that
people
ever
got to
happened
think
for you?
about. Yeah. Say it again.
Has that ever happened for you?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, as you get better, your return can be anywhere from 7 to 10 times. You know what I'm saying? Because there's been days, I mean, we went out together where I sold 7,000 or 8,000 in one day. So I mean, it's just incredible. And I only use the CRM leads. So it's all, and every time you go through anything, this is also something to remember. It's something that you're not doing. There's nothing wrong with the leads. There's nothing wrong with the people. It's something that you're saying, or something in your mindset or your spirit that's causing you not to, be able to talk to that person and being able to help that person in terms of their needs. And a lot of times it could be you thinking about yourself. It could be, stress, whatever it is, but something is off. And that's what causes you to struggle. So.
Gotcha. Well, we've only got a few minutes left. I want to ask you 2 questions. One is very important.
Okay.
Do a new agent, licensed or unlicensed, need any experience in the insurance industry to come into this and to be successful from day one?
No, they don't need any experience. They just need they just need to be coachable and have work ethic. If they can have those 2 things, then, they can, the sky's the limit. I mean, we have plenty of people that never did insurance that are our top performers doing up to $100,000 a month. So definitely doesn't take any experience.
Gotcha. Now, the last question I want to talk about that is not really, talked about in most IMOs is the opportunity that we have with Integrity Marketing Group and how that works in our favor as an agency owner, because every person that comes through the door has an opportunity, whether they have experience or no experience, to have an opportunity to build an agency and to hire people and to bring them on and get them up to par to be successful in the insurance industry. When you think about your previous IMO and the current IMO that you're a part of right now, which is Family First Life, and we're glad to have you, how do you see that the opportunity we have in integrity marketing sets us up for great success for the future?
So it's a phenomenal opportunity, because if we look at my old practice company, you actually didn't own your book of business. It's only been recycled. So we usually deal with strictly businesses, and you open as many businesses as you can, or you help manage somebody else's book of business. Okay, but that book of business is just recycled through different agents. Okay, so what the difference is with Family First Life is you actually truly own your own agency. So in that old company, I could go say, hey, I want to sell my book of business. And the only way that I sell that book of business is if somebody else is willing to pay me something, right? And because technically they don't, because that book of business is not really mine. It's actually owned by that company. Okay. So we're with here, you actually own your book of business. Once you get to a certain amount with your team, you actually get looked at based on your profit and loss to be able to be bought by Integrity Marketing with cash and stock, and then you become a partner and an employee and get benefits and everything. So it's a complete game changer, because you can actually be able to get generational wealth, with less than 2 years. So I mean, where can you set up your family for generations in less than 2 years with no experience in that industry, right? And the point of entry is pretty much $500 to $1,000, right? And it's just based on work ethic. And our leader right now, Dave Witchard of FFL Velocity, and then also Eric Hamadi with FFL Trap, are both in the running for integrity partnerships, and Neil McMahon also is writing that pipeline too, probably by March of next year. But it just goes to show you, and they haven't been here very long, that you can actually change your family's life, with this opportunity that we have. And Sean Mike always talks about, yeah, you can go try to get it yourself. But what's so great about it is Sean got his deal, and then he brought other people. We have like 18, we'll have probably over 20 partners, probably by the beginning of the year. And it's just incredible that he wants to give back, because usually most people, when they have success, they don't go back and get other people to succeed. And it doesn't matter if you're what ethnic group you are, what background you have, as long as you're willing to work hard, anybody can have it. Because in some circles, it is based on who you are, and this is the best playing field, the fairest playing field that I've ever been in. And I've been in a lot of opportunities.
Now, John, if somebody wanted to come into my agency and they wanted to work with you, when you think about Family First Life and our open door policy across the company, how would you say that works in favor for all agents, because you get an opportunity to cross collaborate with other agents within our organization, our IMO?
Well, it's great because you can actually work with somebody like my sister's in Arizona. I have an agent in California. You can work with anybody across the country, right? And then you can collaborate with anybody across the country as well that's not even on your team. So that helps you go leaps and bounds, because now you pretty much can work. You have people working around the clock. And Warren Buffett always says that, to be able to gain wealth, you got to be able to make money while you sleep. So somebody could actually be either out later than you are because of you being on the East Coast, and they're still contributing to your team, which is phenomenal. But it is a great opportunity, because you're not bound by state or region, which, gives everybody the opportunity, because everybody doesn't have the same goals. But if you want to go out there and you want to be able to find those people and help them, then you can grow very large in this company.
Well said. So, as we always say in Family First Life, anyone can do this business, correct?
Yep.
Okay.
Anyone can do it, but only certain people will.
That is true. That is true.
Yep.
Everybody has their own goals personally.
That's right.
If somebody wanted to come join your team, how would they be able to get in contact with you, John?
So they can either get DM me on Facebook, or they can give me a call or text me. 717-414-8015. Or they can actually reach me on Instagram also. And that's my John Knight. I think it's 9047 on Instagram. So
awesome. Well, with our last question, what does FFL Knight means to you?
It means a whole lot of things to me. It obviously
that is your organization.
Yeah. FFL Knights. It means legacy because of my dad and I actually didn't start out to do that. But just how things worked out with my dad going before us, kind of laying the groundwork, giving me that interest and kind of following in his footsteps of being an entrepreneur, and him trying and not being able to make it happen like he probably wanted to. And then the fact that my sister's actually on board and just being able to be that almost knight in shining armor to people and protect them. And it just brings all that together. So it just says so many different things about legacy, protection, and being able to help people. And usually, they look the knights to be leaders too. So that's kind of what it means to me.
Awesome. Well, John, thank you for your time today, man. I really appreciate you taking the time to answer my questions and really help the people to understand, why Family First Life is a great opportunity and why it's a great IMO to come be a part of. If there's anything that you had to part away with wisdom, what would you say to the people?
I would say to give back. One of the reasons why I actually came or actually solidified my thing with Family First Life is what they're doing at the Dream Center, and they're just doing a great work with helping out with homeless families and sex trafficking and helping kids that are keeping families together. And then, their CEO is a man of faith. So with my old company, that was kind of our focus too for the longest time. And then they kind of got away from that. So I love that because I know that God's with us in terms of what we're doing here. And we're actually doing a big ministry because being able to protect people so they don't have to think about money is a huge thing, because most people don't want to talk about money, but let's face it, we need it for gas and everything. And just with inflation, and if you've ever been to the grocery store recently and seen how much everything's gone up,
yep.
Like that's why you need to be with Family First Life, because you're not going to be able to afford to have these, the regular job is not going to work anymore. And now that with everything happening in pandemic, your little, your jobs like your waitressing jobs, your extras jobs, those jobs aren't there anymore because a lot of those restaurants and things like that are gone, because there were ways for people to be able to make up for that income that they didn't make at work. So you got to be able to find an opportunity out there where it's low enough for point of entry for you to be able to succeed at a high level. Like I said with my sister, earlier, she's already been able to replace that income. And she says, a lot of her colleagues are watching her and wanting to see if she would be back in the industry. Because, usually if it doesn't work out, you're going to be back in 3 to 4 months.
Yep.
But the fact that she's, going to be hitting her year soon and continually grows her agency like you're growing your agency, that just says so much about our company and the vision that Sean Mike has for us. So it's just incredible because, God's blessing him with that wisdom to be able to move us forward. And I know that's so important because, you really can't make it without God.
Well, there you have it, folks. If there's any questions that you have for me or John Knight, feel free to reach out to either one of us. We're here to help you to be successful and help you to get on to your fast start with Family First Life. It doesn't matter if you're licensed or unlicensed or whether you have any experience or not. We're here to help you to be successful and help you go from 0 to 100 in a matter of 60 to 90 days. John, thank you for your time once again, and I appreciate you, and we'll see you on the next broadcast.
Thank you, Jamar. Take care.
Yes, sir.